themes that are ready to download that have a lot of styles in them. And we've, for a while been struggling and looking for a way to provide more of that control to the end user. Right now, our themes have a ton of regions, and they're kind of all styled a little differently. And you have this, this kind of region across the top. It's got this big, bold style. And then you've got different alternating block styles, perhaps, which is great. And people like that because they can get a lot of variety. It's not just sort of the same blocks down the sidebars. But at the same time, it's almost borderline arbitrary. I mean, we have to just kind of make decisions about, hey, we think you're going to put a big block over here, and you're going to use these for secondary content. And so we were actually working on something very similar to this, and the folks at Gravitech Labs actually created this module called Skinr, and sort of before it was released, we've been talking about things like that, and they said, hey, you should check out this new thing we're working on. And we said, hey, cool, we're working on the same thing. So it was a really great, kind of example of some cool synergy that happens in the community. The nugget description is Skinr allows the theme to define a set of reusable and modular CSS styles and then make those styles available in the Drupal UI. So what the heck does that mean, and why would you actually want to do that? Similar to panels, and the caveat with panels is that really, if you're using panels in most cases, unless you're using it in kind of limited cases, you kind of have to do the whole panels thing. Like, my site is panels, I'm buying the whole panels thing. And that's not for everybody, right now, or maybe ever. We don't know what the future is going to hold. So, we wanted to, not focus on, well, you have to use panels in order to define your own, sort of plugins and layouts and styles. But how can we do this with what Drupal 6 offers right now? The use case that came out of, for example, Gravitech is building sites for clients. And, they build a lot of the Warner Brothers artist sites, and so they're churning out a lot of new themes and a lot of kind of client sites that have to be able to, make some changes on the fly. And they were always running into the situation where, you styled, the sort of the red block in the sidebar, and then the well, I want to add, can you make this other block that same style? And well, actually, we're not going to use that one anymore, so can you put that down? And so it's just, it's like 5 minutes of CSS here and there and again and again and again for all of these little client changes. So, how can you make this more available? There's been other modules in the past that have done something like this that, I don't know if anybody's used block class or block theme modules, but those are sort of, similar to this kind of approach in that they're putting classes or different template files onto different parts of the UI, different parts of Drupal, and then you can choose those in the UI. But this takes it a little bit further and lets you do a little bit more with it. So that's, why would you want to do this? Well, that's a big reason what I just said right now. So if administrators or editors on a site have some capacity to, manage the content, manage the blocks of the site, they can actually choose some of the styles that apply to them. The other reason, again, from our perspective is, and of course not just sort of with premium themes, but with contrib themes as well. I mean, wouldn't it be awesome if you could go and, download more themes on Drupal.org and be able to sort of mix and match the styles of the blocks and the styles of the pages and sort of make your own layout a little more? So Skinr, go forward. Skinr, how it works is you define the styles in your info file, which looks something like that little block at the top right now. If you want to see some other examples of this, if you look at their README file, actually it's not the most documented module yet. It's only been out for a couple weeks, but they've got good examples. And the big caveat right now is that the UI really sucks. The UI is just it's kind of fuzzy, but it's what you see at the bottom. It just puts a bunch of checkboxes on that, and we're working with them to really improve this. Putting maybe some descriptions, some thumbnails of what the styles actually look like, and having options that can be mutually exclusive. For example, you wouldn't want to put all of these icons onto one block. You only want someone to be able to choose one of them, not all of them. So right now it's just checkboxes, so that's just sort of like the big, asterisk, sorry kind of thing. So then these styles, the styles that you define in your info file, appear as checkboxes on your block configuration page. And then, the class that you see, flower pot icon, you would then in your theme, put a class, flower pot icon, and do whatever styling you wanted to under that. So you do, flower pot icon, block, background, or, in our case, I think it's H2 background that puts the icon in the corners of it. So that's what we're looking at using it for. And there's an example. So here's, Aqua Marina with a different set of icons put in that the user can actually select via the UI. So, right now, with the way that theme ships out is that it kind of goes in and looks at the core and some views blocks and things like that manually and says, okay, for your, who's online, we're going to put this little user icon, and for the login, we're going to put a little keys. And, we kind of dictate those, but we don't know what you're, obviously you're not going to be just using core blocks on your site. You're going to have views blocks. You're going to have blocks of other modules that we don't know about. So we want to have people to have a way to select that. So the other really exciting thing about Skinr is that blocks, as I've been mentioning, it supports. It also supports views. So when you add a style, it shows up as a view style. It supports panels. So what you add shows up as a panel style. Comments, when you go edit the content type, you get options for styles and comments. And nodes. And by nodes, I guess I mean content types. Because if that's a setting that you have available through the edit content type, it's not on a per node basis, it's on a per content type basis. So if you're like me, maybe your gears are kind of going right now. There's a lot of options that you could do with this. I mean, some of the things that would be kind of exciting. Maybe a lot of cases that actually you often use a WYSIWYG. Because a client sort of needs a WYSIWYG to be able to choose certain styles. Maybe you need to be able to float images in a certain way. Well, maybe you have just a Skinr style, something like that, which is just float images left, float images right, kind of thing. So there's a lot of options here that go beyond sort of just choosing sort of a little. Oops, which corner?
Quick question.
Yeah.
It supports nodes, so does that mean that you can apply it on a particular field on a node?
No, it's sort of per content type. So when you go and edit your content type, you can apply a certain style to the content type. Okay. But yeah, sort of a further extension of that node, I know that the idea is to really kind of make this the standard for sort of sub-styles and themes. There's a lot of modules that have some kind of sub-style. Right now there's an issue for quick tabs to have, because quick tabs, if anyone's ever used that module, comes with its own little sub-styles too. But to have that support Skinr, other things, there's even maybe ways that you can think of using it for pages on a whole, regions. I mean, the idea is to get this kind of, instead of having little sub-styles everywhere, but have a theme be able to provide sub-styles for different components of a site. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to show you what that looks like live in here. Change. So this is what this looks like, and as I said right now, it's just kind of a big dump of checkboxes, which isn't the greatest, but it does work. And maybe I'll change this to the question mark icon. So these are all the things. These are all the styles that were defined in the info file of the theme that are now showing up. This is just the block admin list. So now we have our different icon. We get this question mark icon over here. So that's sort of the simple use case for Skinr and using it with blocks. It's kind of dark, but are there any questions so far on sort of the basics of Skinr? So the next thing that I'm going to show you is something that's a little more kind of exciting about something we're working on at Top Notch Themes. And we've got a new base theme. And I don't know if you're familiar with sort of the concept of base theme, but basically a sort of a starter theme. A lot of you I'm sure are familiar with Zen, that you're building other themes off of. And so we've developed a new sub-theme, or theme, sort of base theme sub-theme system that really heavily depends on Skinr for actually defining not only sort of styles and some of these kind of surface area things that I'm talking about, but layout. Let me sort of ease into that though. And the new system, the new site is called Fusion, and it's something that you will see a lot more about in the coming weeks. So the base theme is actually going to be going